Thanks, John. It's John came by and asked me what time we wanted to do the announcement and the presser, and I was like, for almost I had to ask him for what, because it's such it's a meaningful deal, but it was such a foregone conclusion and an obvious deal for us to want to continue our partnership with Woody. That it was kind of like it was expected, and Woody and I have been together so much here in the last few weeks as we're strategizing and planning, and see why Woody and I had lunch this week, and over the course of the conversation, I mean, we hit on the idea of extending him, and I think that it's kind of unusual for me when you talk about like any employee of a club or of a company, that their contract terms are so public. I get that it's kind of the nature of being out front and the manager or a head coach of a depending upon the sport, but the term of this in my mind is really like unimportant. It's really about how strongly we feel about Chris as the, I just called him Chris, about Woody as the the leader, our on-field leader, and really in a lot of ways our kind of spiritual energy leader in the way he goes about pushing the group, pushing the message, the consistency of that message throughout the organization. And I just feel really, really strongly about him and how he goes about his business and who he is as a person and his family and all that. So, I think when I mentioned to Woody a number of years ago, like I couldn't see working with anybody else, still feel that way about him. And quite frankly, as we've gone about the recruiting process here a little bit and talking with other players, like it's so genuine to see how much these guys respond to him and have genuine interest in playing for him and working with him. So really excited about what we're going to accomplish together over a number of years ahead. And Woody, congrats, man, and look forward to having many more of these. I don't know, look forward's the right term. I don't necessarily love these things in general with the Zoom calls, but I'm happy for you and your family, and excited about working together a long time, man.
That's awesome. Thank you, JD. Thank you. I honestly want us to reach out and say thank you to the organization, obviously JD, and trusted to bring me in here 3 years ago, and we both had a shared vision of where we wanted to see this organization go. And I know the last couple of years have been tough, and bringing CY on board and ownership, and I can't say enough about everybody that's been a part of this in trying to move this thing forward. And frankly, I'm super excited, not because I because I get an extension. This isn't about me. I want to be doing this with obviously high quality players, and I don't really like to spend time talking about myself, but I will say the organization, the things that they've been committed to, and like I said, pushing our shared vision forward has been nothing short of spectacular, in my opinion. Even through all the difficulties that we've had to do. I don't think it's necessary, but the last couple of years have been really difficult. But our staff, JD, CY, unwavering in their commitment to what we need. And we've already, in my opinion, won a lot of the beginning of the offseason with some of the hires we've had. These guys chose to come to us because of the vision we all share. And it's, sitting in front of some players and doing the things that, getting great players to come here is pretty passionate about. And we're close. We're really close to kind of, I think we're around the corner heading into the positive. And, from this point on, hopefully we can see that vision through and celebrate, give the fans something they deserve. And that's a winning championship caliber ball club every day.
Okay, we will take questions, and we're going to pretty much confine our questions here to Woody's extension and the additions to the reserve list to the major league roster today, which you now all have, and we will confine our questions basically to those subjects. So if you've got questions, raise your hand, and we'll start with Evan.
Hi. Two quick questions for you, JD. You mentioned, the term is kind of unimportant as far as you're concerned. but there is only so far that you guys can go in certain situations, and I'm just wondering if you can kind of speak to that a little bit about where you guys are in the window and how far you can go in terms of extending somebody far out. That would be the first question.
Yeah, I mean, listen, part of my mindset too is as we turn the corner, as Woody I think so appropriately put it, and we start kind of getting good decision after good decision and building momentum, and that leads to wins and leads to on-field success. I look forward to being in a position to advocate for Woody and coming off of a winning year and recommending a longer and more bigger extension for him at that point. So, I don't think any of us are really thinking about that. I mean, I'm not concerned with my contract or anybody else's contract. We got a lot of work to do, but very, very clear. Like, this is the leadership team that we believe is going to pull it together, and we're going to do it together. So the term's somewhat irrelevant.
And that's kind of the second part of the question is, what does come across is that this is the leadership team that you mentioned as you're doing some recruiting right now. There's a message that goes along with that, right? That we expect this leadership team to be in place. This is the leadership team you would come and play for.
100%, yeah, and and it's been interesting too as we've kind of formulated our thoughts on this, and Woody referenced some of the additional staff that we've brought on board, some of which had some great opportunities with their own clubs or potentially with other clubs that they chose to be here, and I think there's a parallel between that and some of the players that we're looking at as well and the decisions that they're going to face.
You say the staff actually expressed that?
Yeah, well, I mean, they expressed it with their actions, right? That they joined our group based on like what Woody was saying, based on our plans and probably most importantly the people here.
Okay. And last thing, Woody, just for you, I'm trying to reference you as a spiritual energy leader.
Yeah, that was I kind of stumbled over that. By the way, I don't mean spirit. I don't mean spiritual in like a religious sense or anything like that. I just mean like the heart and soul of the organization.
All right. Well, I mean,
yeah.
What does it mean to you to be the heart and soul of the organization?
Honestly, it's humbling to hear that. Obviously, I definitely lead with my heart, and I think JD knows that, and we have a lot of staff members that do that. So I'm not alone in that, and I think that's probably the thing that drives me the most is to be able to be myself and JD, and see why I've allowed that and allowed all of us, every guy we bring in. Obviously with Donnie and Tim, coming on board. They both share that same passion and same energy. So I'm humbled to hear that, but at the same time, like I feel like I have a responsibility, taking on this job and, keep everybody moving in the right direction and hold our standards as high as possible, set the expectations as high as possible. Like I said, the city deserves it. The fans deserve it. We haven't won the last few years, and I take, full blame for that. We need to be better, but we're moving in the right direction. Obviously, I think we're around that corner. And I can't wait for what's going to happen next.
Perfect. Thanks. I was afraid we were going to be doing Zoom pressers in like sweat lodges next year or something like that. So.
Some yoga breathing. That's it.
Okay, Jeff.
I'm fine doing them in sweat lodges as long as we can do them in person.
Yeah.
I'm going to switch to the 40-man. JD, how did you guys come to the decision to do just 3?
Yeah, so and I'll go through the 3 guys with Ricky and Ronnie, 2 very talented arms that they're very different in how they go about it, but multiple pluses and kind of unique looks for the hitter. Ricky obviously coming off the TJ, but was throwing the ball very, very well late in the year in Arizona. Another great job by our rehab group there. He's really, I think, matured as a lot of the guys do coming out of Kami's program and the rest of the group out there in Surprise. and excited to see him kind of get a real chance to start and see kind of a power mix as a starter. Ronnie, really took a step this year and kind of how he hit with his stuff, especially his fastball. He's got, he's a small guy, and I think he used that to his advantage. It's a look that hitters don't see often, and because of that, he's a chance for the fastball in particular to play really well. We see him as a starter, but you could also see his role developing in a number of ways there. But excited to have him and could see him contributing fairly soon. And then Duran, we kind of knew when we acquired him with he and Otto both that we would be adding them. Kind of a dynamic player. Obviously, aggressive on the bases, aggressive with the bat. Can play multiple positions. His power. Excited to see what he can do, and he's the kind of guy that I think because of those different skills be somebody that could get claimed, could stick. You said three. Like obviously we added three today, but we added Nick Snyder previously. We added Otto previously. We added Ibanez and Yanni and Pozo at different points previously. So those are all guys that would have been on the reserve the Rule 5 eligible list coming into the season. They would have been there. So it's three today, but there are several others that we added over the course of it.
And then how do you decide who not to protect? Because it seems like Bubba Thompson seemed like he could be a guy, or Steele Walker, that other teams might find attractive and could maybe easily be stashed on an active roster somewhere.
Yeah, good points, and both names that we discussed. Both guys are relatively high draft picks with some pedigree and have had kind of different some success at upper levels. We just try to look at is the player are they going to fill a role here in the short term, the upside in kind of the medium term, or what they would develop is a lot of Rule 5 guys that don't get full developmental opportunities, and what does that look like down the line. Listen, both guys that you mentioned, we think highly of. I think of last year. I think the in this call, you guys were surprised about Alex Spees. I think was the name at the time, and we didn't protect Kurt Terry was another name. Obviously, he ended up getting an opportunity 2 years ago. Joe Barlow was that guy, and it took him another year and a half, but he got an opportunity and performed well. So I think guys come at different paces, and we're hopeful to retain those guys, but obviously we took a little bit of a calculated risk there.
Okay.
Hey, Woody, you talked about the shared vision that you have with JD and with CY and everybody in the organization. Really, was there ever a concern, based on youth and roster composition, maybe that you weren't able to, your vision wasn't able to be manifested out there, and therefore, are you relieved that this day is here?
No, I never really had a doubt with that. We made some really difficult calls when it comes to players, staff, and not that they're not, some of these guys aren't fits, but we decided there was obviously better fits, or there potentially could be better fits. So I've never, JD and I, talk often, and we have for the last 3 years about the direction we're going, and he's included me on all those things, and just which way we're going. How does this guy fit? How does this guy fit? So I'm very appreciative of that. And we've honestly wiped the slate clean in a lot of ways because of that, because we are, pretty passionate about, sticking to that vision and making sure that the guys we bring in fit that, fit our culture, fit our vision, and will be the, the core of who we move forward with to create a champion. So I'm just very appreciative that, we've stayed in that direction. Like I said, we had to go through some things the last couple of years because of it. But I'm as fully committed and understanding of where we're going now as when I first got the job.
JD, for you, obviously the answer is, what you're doing here today, making this announcement. But have you always been confident and sure of the shared vision?
Yeah. One of the things that I really value with my relationship with Woody and extends to a lot of others, but I mean, we're able to have a pretty frank conversation. Obviously, you guys know he's so approachable. He's very relatable with the players, but also with the rest of us. So it's very easy to give feedback. He receives it really well, asks questions, and vice versa. Like I think he feels. I hope he feels open to to give me feedback, us feedback, challenge us in different ways, and at the end of the year, kind of in our exit interview, so to speak, there was that was reciprocated, right? We had some things that he and I and CY jointly talked about that we can do better, that some areas that we want to challenge the staff on and things like that. So that makes it really easy, when somebody's wants feedback, wants to get better. I think he's kind of walking the walk, right? I mean, that's kind of what he's preaching to the players, that that ask questions, be curious, learn more, get better. Don't take anything for granted, and he kind of wants that. He treats himself the same way, and that makes it really easy to stay on the same page.
Great. Thanks, guys. Congratulations, Wade.
Okay, we'll take these 3 last questions. We'll go to Levi.
Hey, John, could you walk me through your thought process on Kyle Cody? I mean, I know there was a time when he was the minor league pitcher of the year, and he's had some injuries. Can you talk me through that decision?
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty simple that he had shoulder surgery right at the end of September, and just given the timeline on that, he's got a chance to come back and pitch in the second half later in the season next year, but that's we'll see. That's not that's not a lock. It kind of depends on how the rest of the rehab goes and his throwing program picks up, and just given that timeline, knowing that we're going to need some spots at some point, we thought it was we thought now was the time to take him off. And one of the reason we waited on it until this point was this past Wednesday was the last day that you could ask waivers on an injured player until until next season. So or a guy that had surgery. So if somebody would have claimed him, they would have basically been committing to keeping him up on the 60-day IL next year, and we thought that was unlikely given the timeline, and because of that we felt it was the right time to do it.
Okay, yeah, I mean, this is probably, I should know this, but he doesn't have the option to choose free agency at this point. He just comes off the 40-man, is that right? Or
that's right. That's accurate.
Okay. All right, that's all I had. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Chris.
Hey, JD. Obviously, you guys felt that you needed to protect Ricky Benasco, and he's trending upward, but he's never logged an inning above single A. So, what is his timeline for you guys? Not that you necessarily expect him to be in the big leagues in 2022, but where are you guys seeing him project at this point in time?
Yeah, I think he'll either start the year at again we're talking in November about opening day assignments, and that's a little bit dangerous, but all things go well, he'll be in big league camp, get built up, get exposed to our group, and we'd be looking for him to start likely either in high A or maybe in double A, depending upon how things go. But that would be kind of the most likely decision if things go well between now and then.
Hey, John, over 3 years of working with Woody, I think a lot of the things that you thought when you hired him, you had reaffirmed. But is there anything that has really kind of stood out as something an asset that maybe you didn't think, that you didn't realize was initially there, that kind of shines through?
It's a good question. I mean, I'm not sure if it's something I didn't know was there, but maybe not to the extent. I mean, the depth of his ability to connect with people, and then how that his ability to then lean on that equity that he's built with them to challenge somebody or deliver a tough message, or step in a challenging moment, and his willingness and desire to do that to ultimately help the the player or the staff member, in effect helping the team. I mean, he's so driven by that. I mean, he loves like to get into the details. He loves to like invest in people, and I think that you see that in the way that the players interact with each other, the way they interact with other staff members, and but that's right. The depth of his relationships in such a way that allows him to really push kind of the on-field message, and the way that we need our players to prepare has been really impressive to see.
And then just the last thing is, on a prospect level, how much has Owen White's fall league performance kind of, you challenged him, right, by raising him up to pitch in the fall league. How much has that kind of accelerated his position in the organization or in the prospect line, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, it's really kind of supported the feelings of the people that have been around him, that have been able to evaluate him and get to know him over the time. Unfortunately, with the TJ's first year out, and then the last year with COVID and the shutdown related to it, and then the punching the mound this year and frustration, breaking his hand. I mean, we kind of say it jokingly, but obviously it had a real effect in his lack of development time, but also his lack of ability to kind of to demonstrate that he is that dude that everybody says he is. And so, yeah, challenging him here in the fall league. Obviously, there's just a development opportunity there to get some more innings that he's lacked. But I mean, you don't see, look back at like pitcher stats in the fall league the last 10 years. I mean, it's a launching pad there. You don't see guys. I mean, under like a 5 ERA is like that's like something impressive, right? And I mean, these are some of the best hitters in the game. It is a ridiculous hitting environment there. You guys see it in spring training. It's like that, and then it's when 110. It's even more so, and the grounds rock hard and all this other stuff. So for him to do that against that level of competition with his lack of experience, it does really say something.